This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
I'd like to call to order the Public Safety Building Committee meeting. It is November 6th at 4:31 p.m. This meeting is recorded.
Good. We were just
Hey, Mark.
hoping you would arrive, Mark.
Just starting. And just for purposes of roll call, everyone just announce their name that they're present. Ian Illingsworth, present. Mark?
Mark Darnold, present.
John O'Shea, present.
Chris Fowles, present.
Mark Vicino, present.
Rick Fasoli, present.
Christina Madsen, present.
All right.
Now, Cindy's not here, so we need someone to take minutes. Volunteers, please.
She can get it off the video.
What's that?
She can get it off the video.
She won't be here for another
Like the
while.
reporter.
Won't be here for a while.
Yeah, like the reporter, I know. Oh, come on,
You want
guys.
takers?
I'll try. I'm not a good minute taker.
I'm not either. Chris, I guess we'll team up, okay? We'll both take them.
Okay, take the notes, then we can compare notes.
I guess so.
Okay.
Next time, though, it'll be someone else.
All right, so we'll start with open time for the public. I don't see anybody here from the public. So we'll get right into the review of the minutes on October 23rd. Did everybody get a chance to review the minutes?
The only, and I don't know whether this needs to be changed, the only change or inaccuracy is that under public engagement planning, it was both chiefs, Chief Illingsworth and Fasoli, were to meet with
Yes,
John.
that's correct. Yes. Which we did.
Yes, we'll have a report of that.
Where is that, I'm sorry? Under?
The first bullet under public engagement planning.
Okay.
Otherwise, I thought they were fine.
Everybody all set with the minutes?
I think so. I'll make a motion to approve.
Anybody second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I abstain.
John, Mark, please.
I abstain.
And then update on land negotiations. Any correspondence, Ed, with that?
Yes. Breeze are checking their schedules, and they're gonna, depending on one of their schedules, they're gonna try to be available either Wednesday this week or Thursday afternoon this week.
Okay. And review of HKT's conceptual layouts. Where should we start?
Well, I think we need to discuss the sites a little bit more. before moving on to the next agenda item. I'm sorry, I was taking minutes. So Ed, you're hoping to meet with them this week. How do we stand? We are running with a very tight schedule with HKT, and can that, we're already a couple of weeks beyond that. Is it legal? Will it be legal? Will it be possible to possibly extend the deadline for the completion of HKT's work?
Oh, you can send the deadline. All it does is it affects that it won't be at the May town meeting.
Okay, so it's doable.
Yeah, the deadline was actually set up to try to have everything in line and in place for the May town meeting.
Correct.
Yeah.
But, okay, so the fact that the RFQ gave a deadline and the contract was for that, it doesn't affect anything. We can go ahead and extend the deadline, because just wondering if certain companies, firms did not apply because of the deadline. Is that now kind of a
It's a mutual
moot point?
Yeah, exactly. So
Okay.
what would technically have to happen is if we were going to extend the deadline, if the town was going to extend the deadline, we would need to write an amendment to the contract to that effect with a new deadline date.
Okay.
And then it would be signed by both parties again.
Okay, all right, so that clears that up.
And right now, it's what, the beginning of March?
March 8th is our
I think,
deadline.
yeah, that sounds right.
And they were hoping, of course, they had Parl and someone else lined up to be working on, they were assuming we would select the site, which was absolutely impossible from at the last meeting. And so I had a conversation with Mark Darnold after our meeting when some questions arose for me, and it was regarding the planning stages of Zero College Highway. And one of the reasons I spoke with you is because my recollection was that you said that they would be coming back with another proposal to the planning board, maybe in January. Can you clarify that?
Yeah, I'll clarify. There's actually, two things going on with the project. One is the access roadway is a separate entity, and they've submitted a preliminary subdivision plan to the planning board. It's my understanding that they're going to come back sometime in January with a definitive subdivision plan. And this definitive subdivision road is just for the acceptance of the roadway itself, not for the entire project. The entire project, the remaining residential areas, would be as a special permit to the planning board, so that's a separate scenario. And so as it stands right now, that internal parcel is not a buildable lot because it has no legal frontage until such time as the definitive subdivision roadway is approved by the planning board.
So that's not going to be until, well, if they come back in January, then just describe what.
Yeah, it depends on how complete their plans are, and if they're totally complete, then the planning board can approve it in short order, or so oftentimes it goes through several hearings, and if to approve the definitive subdivision plan. Definitive subdivision plan has to be, fully vetted for all the technical details, as well as the drainage has to be submitted and analyzed and reviewed. So there's a technical process that has to be submitted and reviewed prior to acceptance of the definitive subdivision roadway plan.
Of the roadway, right.
Right. Until such times it happens, the internal parcel that has been offered is not a buildable lot because it has no legal frontage.
Right. So, a second question that I had for Mark was, if we were to acquire that frontage, could we move forward independently? Would we then not be subject to the approval of the subdivision plan? And that, I mean, we can't choose an interior, a landlocked parcel prior, well, we can't select a landlocked parcel without some conclusive approval for the road going in there, right? And so we're hung up with that until spring.
Sometime, I mean, in theory, they could submit the plans tomorrow if they were complete, but I anticipate that it's going to be March. I mean, it's January before they submit. That was a verbal comment that the applicant had at the time of submission with the planning board.
Right, okay.
So that goes back to your point about acquiring the frontage, the acreage.
Well, it seems to me, you know, I had given my reasons for having visibility and direct access. But then it occurred to me, and I believe you've confirmed this, that without that frontage, we're stuck. We cannot vote or select a landlocked parcel without final approval for that subdivision road. That is my takeaway from it. Of course, I could be wrong, but I don't know. I'll take input, but I am of the opinion that that is the only way to go to enable us to select it. We can't do it. We can't select a landlocked parcel. And it doesn't work unless we really extend this whole project to await subdivision approval, which puts it, who knows how far out. To my mind, we have only two options. One is this parcel here, and one is the Zero College Highway with frontage.
Which also means that the frontage is going to require more funding. And where do we get that funding? Then it's got to get approved by the town, and it's too late to probably go in front of the special town meeting, correct?
Yeah, well, we don't have any details to
Right,
go in front of
right,
you with.
exactly,
So, yeah.
right.
Well, the other aspect to this is we would have to know, I guess, we'd have to know whether we can get a curb cut. Right? Am I right? I mean, I'm just thinking, I don't have much experience with this.
I think the last meeting, we had a question whether whether more than one curb cut, I don't know, Mark, you heard that, whether more than one curb cut would be allowed, assuming there is still going to be that common driveway. That would be the main curb cut that DOT would be expecting, I guess.
Well, you know, the subdivision road would be, would necessarily be a curb cut, but would require an access
Okay,
permit.
yeah, okay.
And then if the frontage parcel to the south wanted a separate driveway, they would have to apply to Mass DOT for a curb cut at that location. I don't know why there's only, big giant red flags, why they wouldn't provide one, but that would have to be another step that would have to take place.
Well, I think we left it that HKT was going to contact DOT.
Yeah, I think that was regarding 210
I think in curb cuts in general.
in general.
Because it was going to apply down here too for a second curb cut, was it not? I think. So they were going to.
Oh, for the,
And I
yeah,
suggested that
okay.
they talk to our DOT
Right.
regional guys up in Hatfield, and they seem to know that they existed, so I'm assuming that they will at least find out that piece of information. But, I mean, I think hopefully whenever we can meet with Breeze this coming week, we'll put that front parcel on the table too, and see. I can't imagine they wouldn't be willing to sell it, but the question is, how much do we want, and for how much money can we spend, I guess, too?
Well, then the other question I would have on that is does the town once again move forward with buying more land without a plan? I mean, we've done that with the granted it's much smaller parcels, but we did it here behind behind the fire station, and we did it with the Grange in anticipation of a project going forward. Are we going to do that again with an even more expensive parcel? I'm just
You're making all valid points. I'm picking up what you're putting down for sure.
Well, actually, the Grange was purchased for extra land to expand the septic system at the old town hall.
But that hasn't been done, hasn't? Isn't it just sitting idle? I mean,
Well, no,
it's
yeah.
going to have a beautiful garden, but it was not, did not fulfill the intention of its purchase. It hasn't yet.
Right, correct.
And the same with this. The Bray property was purchased for a septic system as well, if I remember correctly.
I have no idea.
I believe so. The septic, the test pits were up at the top of the hill.
Correct.
So,
But, I mean, nothing can be done in terms of land purchase before the town meeting anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
you mean annual?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're skipping over another step if you really wanted to. You can have a second special town meeting.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Oh, yeah.
That's true. We've often, actually, that's true. We've had them in February and other times, that is true. So, assuming we have a meeting soon with the LaBreeze and can work out whatever details there might be, nothing would be ready for the December special town meeting, but might be able to be on a second special town meeting.
Correct.
Because so what do we have to, we have to get the town to approve that we would purchase it, but then we have to identify the funding source, right? For that front parcel, presuming.
Right. If there is a funding source, if we're asking to borrow for it or what have you.
Borrow. Okay. So in other words, so by maybe February-ish, we might be in sync with a special town meeting for that purpose, maybe. But does that delay what HKT is doing?
Right, does it have a domino effect now?
Yeah, so can we even select that parcel until that time? I'm asking.
I don't think we can.
I don't think so either. It seems to me the only way we can move forward right now is to select this parcel. This is a given, and as you know, I am unbiased about this. I want the town to select the best parcel. But to my mind, this parcel 210 is the only way we could move forward now. Everything else is quite a bit down the road.
That's the big question here. Are we making a big decision? This is once in a 120-year decision about a public safety complex. Are we making this decision so that we can have everything in line by May? Is that crucial as our contract with HKT, which is driving this very, very, very big decision to expedite things? Yes.
Correct.
That's what it seems. It doesn't seem as though we can push it like we're pushing it.
It becomes, where's the priorities? Does the decision have to be made for the annual town meeting, or is the town as a whole better off waiting to have all the information and then moving forward?
I think it's the only way. How can we move forward without all the information? Unless we were to decide that this was the best parcel. Then we could move forward. But there are so many unknowns for an extended amount of time with College Highway. The only way we can pursue that is to delay beyond annual town meeting this year. And it is a huge decision. Now, it also has been suggested to me that it may be important, and again, I'm tossing this out for discussion, even though I seem to be the one doing all the talking. about getting public input as to site location, because there are people who have opinions, strong opinions about both. And is this the place to start public engagement? Because there are people on both sides, and we can't afford to, it goes back to your point, Mark, about making this gigantic decision. Do we need to include more than a greater audience?
I think Chief has said many times, I think the public's perception of the best place is also have to do with the dollar amount. And I think we haven't had the opportunity to explore, the dollar amount of installing it.
Yeah.
Safety here or at another site. And I think that's going to be a big factor.
Right.
Right.
On whether or not the project is approved by the
Right.
public.
Like, for instance, does the excavation cost here outweigh?
The land purchase.
Right.
Yeah.
Plus, where you're gonna put the fire department.
Yeah, temporary relocation of
Right.
fire department.
Is, yes, that is, I was told Hackworth has moved out and there is vacancy in that big building on the College Highway. Is that true or not true?
Where?
Industrial residential.
That I don't know.
That's, what is it called? It's on the highway.
The old Harley Davidson shop?
No.
It's a security company.
Right by my old property?
It's
Yeah.
right out.
No, they're-
I thought they were still there, but I
They're
was
still there.
told that they had moved. Okay.
They're-
That is true, there is that.
No.
The
Building inspector said that Dollar Tree is coming in there to the Harley shop.
Yeah, I didn't mean Harley shop. Oh, that's interesting.
one of the former Hackworth brothers that had
Yes.
business together.
Yes.
They were formerly in the
Yeah.
Harley Davidson shop for a while.
Oh, they were?
temporarily.
Yeah,
And they
they
left.
moved.
They've since moved out of there.
But who's in, where,
Buckwheat used to be.
yeah, Buckwheats? Where-
It's the security, it's one of the
Yeah.
other half.
Okay.
Hackworth Systems.
Got it.
They're
Got
still
it.
there.
That's good.
and
That was
active.
there.
So that was
It's the other
missing,
brother.
that was misinformation.
Yeah, the other brother moved to East Hampton.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So
So, we were just saying in terms of the cost, does the cost of excavation outweigh the purchase price of Zero College Highway? Is that what you're
Right,
saying?
right. Those things we have to
And we
think
won't
about.
know, how do we,
yeah, how do we know
Well,
that?
how do we know that?
Well, that plus what is the estimated cost of relocating?
Relocating the fire department.
Fire department for X amount of months.
But how indeed do we find that out? If they're not going to be cost estimating both sites, are they? Aren't we selecting one so that they can prepare cost and plans?
Part of that should be to show that the site we choose and have to have some cost estimate.
Yeah, I thought we-
Approximate percentage, how much more it would cost to build on this site as opposed to the other site.
Yeah, I thought we had two cost estimates coming in. Maybe I'm mistaken.
Oh, do we? Well,
That's why we
that,
whittled it down to 2 places.
Yeah, I think we had two
Okay.
preliminary costs coming in. Once we settled on scopes that they were going to come in with the.
that only makes sense for us
I think
in
because we always
making a
do that was a
decision.
major factor.
Because I think there's one thing with the land choice, in terms of what's the most desirable land from that matrix we went through, but still, I think you can't present anything to the residents without giving a comparison of, well, this is really the best because, or we had to go this way because the cost, is really, challenging in one way or another. So I would think they would have to give us, I don't remember if that was in our terms of agreement with them on the parcels, that they're doing the site plans on 2 parcels.
I think that's something they could add if
Yeah,
it's not
I would
part of
think,
it.
if it's not, I would think you would want them to do the cost
I think
estimates
it
on
was.
both parcels.
I'm mistaken.
I don't see it in the schedule of services, though. They go from meeting to, this was the last meeting to present 2 test fit options for 2 sites, select preferred site at this meeting, and then develop 2 conceptual plans on selected site. Meeting to present 2 conceptual plans on 1 site.
question we need to go back to them with?
And task 4,
You just have to add.
Yeah, well, they'd have to add it.
Prepare documents for
They'd want to
cost
pay for it, obviously.
estimate.
You have to pay for it. I don't remember what, I think there was we had something in the contract, there were some additions that we could do, but I forget what those additions were for. You know, for an extra price, it was an extra.
I think one of them was for like an extra reach out meeting.
No, maybe that was it, yeah, yeah. And so in lieu of that, yeah, exactly.
Ed, with your municipal experience and wisdom, do you have any suggestions as far as this approach?
I think that we want to have all the information available when it comes time to say what is the most desirable parcel and why. And yes, I would say that a part of that is parcel B by the matrix, and I'm just using it as an example, is the most desirable parcel. Okay. And it might be because, you know, ease of access, central location, could be a bunch of those different things. Now, because of that, it's the most desirable. But, and I'm going to really inflate these numbers just to make a point, and I'm sure it'll probably get blown out of proportion when somebody sees the video and says, it's going to cost this much. I know, I'm inflating it. But let's say that particular parcel cost the town $5 million. This one is less desirable, but it only costs the town $1 million or $500,000. So now at that point in time, does that outweigh why it's more desirable? And a piece of that is, okay, this one, say $500,000, that's $5 million. But all of a sudden you say, well, okay, for whatever reason, site development on this is $1.5 million more than that one. We have to displace the fire department for 2 years at least while this is going on. That's another $2 million. Now all of a sudden, once you've layered those back in, you're basically back to equal price-wise when you add everything together, A, B, and C. And you're back to why is that more desirable? So yes, and yeah, you're going to want to know that because Zero College Highway became the most desirable, and yes, whether it's, and we don't know what the number is going to be, whether that's a couple $100,000 or $500,000 for that front parcel, is the residents and voters are going to want to know, well, geez, we didn't have to pay anything for this one. Why are we going for that?
Right.
And now you can say it's more central location, easier access, better soil conditions, you know, whatever they are, more central location if that's it. Plus, okay, yes, we didn't have to pay for this one, but site development costs being added to that are X amount of dollars. We would have had to displace the fire department and found someplace suitable for them. I mean, even if we can for now think of this, you still want to try to find something that's a central location for response times. Maybe we can't do that. And maybe now it's, okay, how do we even find like a temporary building type of, you know, thing, whether that's one of these soccer field type of domes or whatever, and what does that cost? So.
But we have to have those figures, so that doesn't seem to be in,
The timeline that we have.
but, well, either the timeline or we would have to ask HKT to add that, because I don't see that.
And I think your test pits, if you do test pits on both parcels, very well may lead you to what are the developmental costs or extra excavating or, you know, site costs between the two. You know, in my mind, the, shall we say, the unknown at this point in time is what theoretically or estimated wise would it cost to displace and find a temporary location for fire EMS for X amount of time.
And if we go outside our timelines with HKT, with the contract, we're not legally bound to that? Those timelines? Or something that we should ask them about, or?
Well, no, because what you have to do, just like anything else, you know, if it's in the contract, like you found you had to now add tough books or radios to a cruiser, which has had and it's a bad example because it's not part of that build contract, but yeah, you can go back into that contract, just like, okay, we went back into the contract for Old Town Hall, we had to do amendments for change orders for some of the things that, you know, came up on the exterior. You can do the same thing on that date of, shall we say, substantial completion or must be completed by. And the perfect example is, since COVID has occurred, if the contract for a vehicle or a truck actually hasn't gotten canceled by the manufacturer, it's taken much longer than was really in that contract. So yes, before we actually get to the point of actually taking possession and paying an invoice, we go back in and we do a contract amendment and say, okay, this contract amendment isn't really for a change order as far as scope of work or whatever, but it's due to the date, and we extend it that way. And again, it has to be agreed to by both parties, just like that original contract was.
Is it likely that it will cost us more money to an extended deadline?
No. I mean, as we add maybe services or request a scope of work within that may cost more.
I was wondering more just about extending the deadline.
Yeah, I would not anticipate that at all.
Okay.
There's always an option of a put down and pick up again. If you do sort of stop a project and then restart it, and so we told them to hold everything till January and then restart it. Sometimes there's a situation of a remobilization basically of the staff to get something. And it's not a huge upgrade, but sometimes saying there's a possibility there may be a slight upgrade in charges for services for a delay in contract. Not so much for delay, if you just extend the time frame, but tell them to stop and then not do anything till January, they have to drop their pencils and not start up until we tell them to start up again. So if there's a delay, they have to know what to do between now and a certain end date until we tell them to restart.
According to their schedule of services, they would have to stop now until we can make a selection. Right? Am I correct? We can't do anything more until we have selected a site.
And they've already stopped.
They have,
They've already stopped, yeah.
They stopped 2 weeks ago.
Because they're waiting for us to bid, so they've stopped. And,
Yeah, I mean, it's an extreme period of time.
Right. I think we just need to let them know how long the stop's going to be. I think they were thinking a couple of weeks, but I think
Right.
just have to.
So I personally believe that we are too uninformed to make any form of decision on a site. It's impossible to even plan on Zero College Highway right now. So, does anyone have any other opinions, maybe dissenting or agreeing with that?
I agree. We can't do anything until,
Yeah, I think it's too nebulous.
So should we make a motion, anyone want to make a motion to request a stop until we have further information?
What information do we need? I would say stop.
Yeah.
Let's identify when should we start? Like what information we need?
well, we paused when we did not select the preferred site. So for them to even think of starting again.
No, I mean for us to start.
Well, theoretically, you really want to ask them to stop, or are there things even within that, depending on how the negotiations go, that we might want to have done? And is it the intent to have test pits done on both sites, one of which we already control? And here's where I'm going with that, is if we control one of the sites, and it's the intent, and it's in the contract to do test pits on both sites, is, as Chris and I start the negotiation for Zero College Highway, we might very well ask, okay, while we're negotiating, would you know, do you have any objections if we come in here, and the engineering firm comes in and does a test pit?
Well, that would be done only once it's confirmed that the land is being donated under terms and conditions we can accept, and that the front parcel is available. You wouldn't do, you would want to get to a certain point in the
It's part of the whole
negotiations
discussion, yeah. I mean,
before you do test pits.
That would have to be in place first before.
Yes.
we-
Yeah,
because
we're
you
not going to
can't
be
decide
doing,
Until that's done.
yes. Yes, but you wouldn't do test pits until we're sure that it's a viable option too, right?
Yes.
Which is on two conditions, as far as Zero College Highway goes, right? So
Yes.
it's either that the street gets approved, and we get that 1 4-acre parcel,
Right.
or the town approves, or they're willing to sell the other lot, and the town approves the funding for it. So there's a lot of pieces to this,
Yeah, it's complicated.
so it's hard to come up with an actual
right.
time.
So
It's,
could we have them, I don't know, I think it would be the change order, as Ed was mentioning, on the contract to say, to ask them to develop cost estimates on both sites, because that isn't part of the deal right now, the way I'm understanding it. They would do the cost estimate only on the preferred site, per the terms that we have, right? Would they consider, even, given that we do control one site right now, during this time period while we're waiting on decisions for Zero College Highway, would it make any sense for them to do test pits on this parcel here?
Well, they
And-
were done in 2014.
Yeah, but they
I
seem to
know
want to
they
do their
have-
own stuff
yeah,
anyway.
that's
I don't
true,
think
and
they would
they-
just take those results.
No, that's true, and
You know,
maybe
I
the
mean,
Title
I would think they
V or
would want to
whatever.
redo that anyway. Would it make sense to have them do that, so that they're not hanging out there thinking that we're never going to continue it?
Right.
For them to do something, I mean, we'd have to pay, I'm sure, something for this extra task, right?
True, so then, to what degree of land testing would we ask them to do here as far as determining ledge?
I think it's more of an exploratory test pits. They're not going to do a perk test. We already have that
Oh.
done. So they're primarily going out with a backhoe for half a day and just dig some test pits to see what they encounter for ledge. I mean, they literally could spend a half a day on each site just to poke around a little bit. So it's full 8-hour day of probably certified soil evaluator or geotech engineer and a backhoe for a day. So not exorbitant amount of money. We're not doing title. A 21E test or anything like that. So they're just scrape it down, going down 8 or 10 feet up with a backhoe and 5 or 6 critical locations.
Was that done in 2014, do you know, Mark?
There were test pits done behind.
They did perk testing back there. and-
Well, they had perk tests back in the back lot, and then there were also some test pits done behind the police station as well, behind the fire station as well. If you look on the map, you'll see a lot of these little dots.
Yes,
Those are
yes.
test pits.
But I thought those test pits were for possible perk sites, but they're for testing ledge, or
the
just
perk test,
both?
those test pits, I don't know where the lungs are, but those would tell you what they
Where the
found in each one
ledge.
of those, yes.
Where the ledge is.
Yes.
So are you saying that the land evaluation here would be just exploratory, or on both sites? It
Both
would be exploratory. Is there anything else that, aside from septic and ledge excavations, that would need to be done on both sites?
I mean, not at this stage. I mean,
Okay.
for actual construction, they would probably do boring to do,
Right.
varying capacities, but for purposes of just land exploration and site evaluation, they could do just some test pits.
And for the purposes of site selection?
Yes.
Okay, okay, so that doesn't sound extensive.
So would the test pits, though, would that help them develop a cost estimate for site development?
Yes and no. I mean, again, they have concept box sketches. They've done some rough idea about elevation of the site, so they should be fairly close to doing some, rough grading on these concept drawings. Again, they get floor elevations, and they get those floor elevations based upon the site conditions, so they have somewhat of an idea of the amount of cut that's going to happen. I mean, it's very tough for an architect or engineer to give you a site construction cost, because once, as Ed was saying, once that number leaves your mouth, it becomes concrete, and nobody wants to be held up for.
Right.
And it's maybe useless tomorrow because costs change too. so.
Yeah, well, but for comparative purposes anyway, so, but.
But I guess if we wanted to ask them to do another task and put that in a change order for the contract, what are we wanting to achieve with that task? What is that going to help us do?
Right now we have 4 plans, and each of those 4 plans have an associated cost associated with them. So, we're looking for 4 cost estimates.
Well,
my original memory was they were going to do the 2 sites and put block sketches on each one, and we would pick the block sketches that we liked on each of the 2 sites. And at that point in time, they would prepare a preliminary cost estimate for both Site A and Site B. And I don't remember what the contract wound up doing. I know there's modifications on it.
Yeah, I wonder too, because that only makes sense. I mean, the town needs that information.
I think at the last meeting, though, we had the 4 sketches, and I think we all decided that the second sketch
Yeah.
of each parcel was what we all
Option
liked.
2, yeah,
So there's actually 2 sketches to work from.
right.
But, no, I just want to be clear, if we had to do a change order and write it out, what are we asking them for, and why, why do we need it? What's it going to help us to do?
Well, wouldn't we ask for enough information to develop a cost estimate for option 2 of 210 College Highway? Mark, we're relying on you here.
Yeah, I mean, to me, 20/20 hindsight, to me, that would be the ideal approach. We narrowed down to 2 sites. They would prepare 2 block diagrams for each site, and we would pick which of the 2 block diagrams we like. So we'd have Site A with our preferred block diagram, and Site B with our preferred block diagram.
Right.
At that point in time, we have 2 creatures that we can evaluate and assess. And I assume one of the things that we'd want to do with that is have a conceptual cost estimate for each one.
Well, do you think it's a bad idea to move forward with getting the preliminary information off of 210 before we even know whether 0 College Highway is an option? Do we move forward as Chris and Ed are suggesting, keep them going on one parcel while the other one is in limbo? Is that common, or is there a disadvantage or advantage to that?
I'm trying to keep my concept of 210 here, and the test pits that were done here and the information that we have there should give the HKT a rough idea of the ledge profile on the site. Maybe it's not extensive, but it's I think extensive enough to give you a rough idea. And I know Kalen Bienick came up with a cost estimate and determining ledge, et cetera, based upon these concept or these test pits that were done, exploratory test pits. So I think there's somewhere of a ledge profile available for 210. My gut feeling is Zero College Highway, ledge is not an issue, there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee any site, even if you do some exploratory test bits, there's no guarantees there's not gonna be ledge. But I think ledge is less of a question at Zero College Highway. I don't know if I've answered your question or not, but.
Well, I'm just trying to determine does it behoove us to keep them going, keep HKT moving forward by asking them to single out 210 now and do the exploratory work
Well, we're getting to the other.
while we're waiting on Zero College Highway? Or is it better to just delay the whole operation so that the two can go hand in hand?
I mean, the challenge, I think, and just my point, from HKT, if we were in their shoes, you know, if we ask them for an extension, so maybe it's a month or 2-month extension, I wouldn't think it would be a lengthy extension, I hope. I don't know, but.
How can it not be, Chris, until we know how Zero College Highway is an option? I mean, a serious option. We have to have
Yeah.
contracts. That's not going to be a month.
Beyond the end of March or middle of March, when HKT is, I'm saying.
Oh,
HKT's current contract. To do a time extension for that is one thing, which may not have to be many, many months. But if on their end, you know, they've blocked their time for Southampton.
Yes.
So if we say,
Yes.
okay, you know, we need to probably extend this contract by 10 weeks, I have no idea. I wouldn't think they would balk at that too badly, maybe, but, you know, a long extension, I think they would say, hey, look, you know, we've got other clients. We can't be juggling you. We've got our subcontractors, we've got PAR, we've got a, you know, this is a whole new follow action posted here. So I guess my thought was if we could, if it wasn't a waste of time to have them work on this parcel and see what they can tell us. I just don't know if they're gonna find that a useful bit of their time to do just one parcel and then later on in January or whenever, come back and do Zero College Highway the same way.
That's what I was.
Or do we ask them?
Yeah.
Do we
yes.
make a phone call and have a discussion with them and ask them what they would prefer? Because this is the quandary we're in.
Yeah.
What would you prefer?
Yeah, because I think, you know, if we start having discussions with the landowners this week, you know, we'll have, hopefully, before the end of December, we'd have some pretty clear idea about what the offer really is and whether we can,
I would hope so.
you know, what it might cost to buy it. We still got to go for the approval to get the town approval to acquire that land if we decide to acquire that front parcel. That's not just our decision, that's got to be a resident decision, obviously. So that would be, you know, behoove the idea of a special town meeting, again, before the May town meeting.
But then also, let's see, the contract for the donation too would have to be finalized.
Right, yeah.
And that also has to be approved by the town, is that correct?
Donation of properties, don't they? That goes to vote.
Please define town.
The residents, vote town meeting.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those two things could happen at simultaneously at a special town meeting.
I would think, to vote to acquire, to accept the gift, number one, and acquire another parcel that accompanies it, and how it would be funded, that would all be
Right.
the basis of an article, I would think, right, for town meeting. Yeah, it can all be tied together in 1 or 2 articles related to that property.
So that, if negotiations are successful and swift, then another special town meeting could be scheduled as soon as possible, right? So that we could really move forward if it, no?
I mean, yeah, I mean, as soon as possible, I mean, we're having one
I know,
in December. so
I know that
The cost
it's
of putting
not,
one on is, you know,
Oh,
there's
is
a cost
that-
to it. But I mean, we don't want to wait until the May town meeting, the annual town
Right.
meeting. Right. So I
Right.
mean, you know, but that's why I'm throwing out February as an idea, but I don't know. Maybe, but, yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it seems like we ought to ask them, I mean, they need to understand the quandary we're in, I guess, and maybe have a phone call and just say, hey, guys, we're of two minds here, you know. We think we would like you to first of all, we have information. You've got reports maybe from the 214
Yeah, we should have.
test bits that were done.
Well, Charlie sent those out, and I sent
Okay.
them to all of you. It's the wetlands and the, it's not the ledge, it's the wetlands and the septic reports.
Oh, okay.
Everybody has those.
That's from a while ago, or? recent?
That was from October 6th.
Oh, I'll check my notes. Okay,
Because Amy asked to, no, Cindy was the one who wrote to me and said
Okay.
that she didn't have them.
so
but
some
she
of that
did.
information is already existing. I'm going to assume, given what they've said already, they want to do their own thing. I mean, they want their own analysis. So to say, okay, you do have some basic information from 2014, but we'd like to have you come out and do, using Mark's language, exploratory test pits to determine the ledge profile,
Great.
right, on this property. In the interim, while we're negotiating and talking to the landowners and trying to figure out how to do that. And see if they'd be willing to do that and what time frame and what cost it might be. If that activity is not part of the current contract, if they were gonna do a cost estimate only on one parcel, then what would they charge us to mobilize PAR, I assume, or somebody to come out and do those?
I'm gonna take a 10,000 foot
Go for it.
snapshot here.
We're in the weeds already.
Yeah, we're in the weeds here, you know, and we're trying to put all of our ducks in a row, and I'm just, you know, I'm gonna throw this question out there. Assuming that the town had access to Route 10 off of the Zero College Highway, would this committee vote for that parcel? Or would they vote for this parcel? I mean, so if we're exploratory, let's find out, let's see if we can get the Zero College Highway, let's negotiate a price, and negotiate access and ability. And if that were to come true by magic tomorrow, you know, I'm trying to figure where's the committee, if we go through all this process of negotiations and process and figuring out, can we find, I mean, will we get the money to buy the property and et cetera, is the, I wasn't here last time, but we went through, you know, 210 and 0, and we just put our blinders on and say, oh, what do we want? And we're looking at the big picture for the town. What's the best location and parcel for the safety complex? And that's sort of diverging from what we were talking about. We're more discussing the process to get there.
Yeah.
But I think our first call to duty was to choose what's the best parcel. And it's hard to divert the conversation, but I think it's a
Well, it's
question we
important.
mentioned.
I think that is important because I'm not sure how this committee, I suspect I don't know.
Do you want to remember which one was ranked higher when we scored them?
0 was
Zero.
79
Zero
or
is
78, and this one was 71.
Within-
And then the question would be, do we need to have public input?
I don't know, I think we've been looking at this for so long and we're still undecided. I think a lot of uninformed opinions would not help us at all.
Well, the only thing I wonder, though, is if we don't engage the public, are we alienating those who favor the one that we don't choose? You know, we have to keep our public rolling along with us.
I agree, Christina, but I think the public, because they're both centrally located, I think that's important. So I think through my perspective is the public really comes down to dollar signs. I really believe that. And that is.
Yes, I think you're probably right.
Personally, that is the trajectory I'm on a personal level with this committee, because I want to see this happen, and I don't want to see anything look like we were not thinking along those lines.
Yeah.
Because we'll be called out on it, as we should be,
Yeah.
you know? And
I think we'll be called out on it.
but if we can justify why we did for
Right.
cost efficiency and
Right.
for to, you know, reduce taxes, That's really what it comes down to, because they're both centrally located. You can't say, I mean, you're 30 seconds away from one another, maybe, 45 seconds away. Everyone's gonna get equal coverage. So I think, in that respect, what it really comes down to is what is the most, how do we drive the costs down? Because I think if we're gonna win this, that's how we're gonna win it.
So then we can't really know how to vote, Mark, until we get some costs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think, I would tend to agree with Ian, I don't think involving the public at this point would get us anywhere. I think we would just be going in circles. We need to have a public engagement meeting with them and have something to present to them, saying, look, these are the things, here's the choices we've gone through, here's our whole decision-making process that we've gone through, and this is what we're thinking, now you give us your input based on that. But I think, yeah, it's too early to, I don't think it's beneficial to involve them now.
And then just, oh, go ahead, sorry.
No, I'm not advocating for it, I'm tossing it out because we need to keep public perception on track with us.
Mhm.
I think the risk there too is you end up with three camps. People who say it's too expensive either way, and then somebody's in favor of this side, somebody's in favor of that side. So one side is gonna have two groups opposed to it,
Right,
you know? You're gonna have just a clear choice.
okay.
Yes, I think that's our goal. And then, you know, that's where we need the cost estimates to, you know, to your point, which one is gonna cost the least
Mhm.
and still give us a
And we might have to,
workable project.
right, and we might have to just recognize, let's just say, 210 College Highways, the most cost-effective location. Well, perhaps we gotta, you know, take away some of the luxuries of having two entranceways, right? Maybe reduce it, I don't know, I'm just, are we asking too much by asking for a separate, I'm not saying are we asking too much, I think it's a very reasonable ask, but Zero College Highway, you know, it's for visibility, but is visibility that important that it could cost us $400,000 more? I don't know. These are just things I'm thinking of where,
But it's not just visibility on the highway, it's ease of access.
It is
to
ease of
Route
access,
10.
right. But
Because
it's-
that road is going to be congested.
It is, but you look at, you're right, Christina, I don't deny that one bit. I just think to myself, we've been able to get out on Route 10 for 50, 60, 70 years. 1949, right? And we've successfully done it with a couple mishaps. Are we being, or could we be being too picky about what we're asking?
Yeah, but you're not dealing with a heavy residential environment here either.
No,
You've got, I don't know how many new houses
Sure.
and commercial activity.
No, and again, I think it's very reasonable for it to have its own access way. I would hate to have it not occur because we're not, you know, we might just have to sacrifice a little bit.
Would the question there be, will the congestion there possibly cause delayed response time? If there are a lot of people at certain times of day.
No, I understand.
So that's an
Usually
analysis.
sirens, people pull over,
Yeah.
right? But I'm just throwing that out there as, you know, let's not let certain things stonewall us and not look beyond that, because perhaps one site might be better than the other if we just kind of realize that we're just going to have to deal with certain things that we initially didn't want to have to deal with.
That will be true, yeah.
It seems to me that we ought to at least put out a question to HKT about, you know, the idea of trying to do test pits on this parcel here, and what would it cost, what would the time frame be, what do they think about it, are they willing to even do that? They may say, forget it. We don't think that's worthwhile, who knows?
Well, that's still a site option for us. We haven't selected a site.
True. Yeah.
So we're not asking them to do something out of the ordinary.
Not in terms of, yeah, well,
It's going to be, it's a possibility that it will be our chosen site.
Okay, so it'd be a contract modification to do more than one, well, I don't know, we've got test bits in the current contract somewhere, right? Maybe? I forget.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
yes.
Should be.
Okay, so then it would be a change to say, we want you to do test bits on both parcels, and, you know, that will help us with some preliminary, and we need some, at least preliminary cost estimates of site development on both. And that's just the land excavation and preparation stuff, right? It's not construction, it's just the land issues, right? When you say
Site development,
right?
It's
yeah.
stormwater, septic,
Right.
they have to build retaining walls and that
Right.
type of stuff. That's all, they have to figure that into the cost,
Right.
not just the test bills.
Right.
My 2 cents, the construction costs here is gonna be a lot higher. You've got demolition, you've got relocation, and you probably have ledge on this site, which you don't have on the other site. So I think the site development costs are gonna be greater here. That's, I think, straightforward.
Yeah, I think we need HKT.
A comfortable statement.
Yeah, I think so too.
If we get a cost estimate for this location, is that going to include relocating the fire department? Do we have any idea what that's?
I'm saying
gonna cost?
that's, if you compare the apples and oranges, it's just site development cost, it's demo, drainage is going to be more expensive, and relocation are going to be additional, and ledge are going to be additional costs for this site that are not going to be on the other site. And then the additional cost on the other site may be land acquisition. And we don't know what that is.
So let me ask this question. If it is, I agree that it needs to be quantified by HKT, but working under the assertion that this is going to be more costly to develop, is there a way we can assess whether construction costs might be equal to what will take place at Zero College? Or it's not a given that construction costs would be greater here. Is that true, or is that?
Building construction?
Yeah.
My only reason to say possibly yes, because if you're building on ledge, and they actually talked about stepping this site up, a couple of them were only like 3 feet differentials between the different areas. And then, an elevator with 3 step, but that was due to step and topography more than anything else. And not just but you have to build driveways and ADA ramps and maximum slopes on driveways, et cetera. So I think that was the driving cost why they had like 3 levels on this site here. So I'm not a building builder, so I can't really give you quantitative one way or the other on that. I just thought it was strange that they had 3 levels on this site.
Yeah.
Again, that was due to topography primarily. And I won't say it's because they were trying to avoid ledge, but they had to make the grades. It's a very difficult site to grade, to get from Route 10 up to the very top and make the grades work.
So what we'd be weighing is site development on this parcel versus acquisition
I think
cost.
if you're talking dollars, I think that's probably the major difference.
Okay.
Site construction, more expensive here. I wouldn't say, I don't have any reason to say building would be one way or the other.
Right.
But, property acquisition would be more 0.
Okay. So getting back to your question about how we would vote, we would have to have that information before we know, because cost will drive us to, proposed cost will drive our decision
It's a
making.
$20 million fee acquisition, and then that's what makes this decision easy.
Okay, where are we?
I'm wondering if we should, relative to this, about Chris's point of having HKT start on here, perhaps reach out to them first, see what is preferable on their end, how it works best with them, and then meet again and discuss this topic, because they may say, we don't want to do one and then the other 3 months or 4 months down the line, we want to do them all together. I don't know. But we're obviously in a quandary that we can't decide right now without their input, correct? Am I correct in saying that?
I believe so.
Can they do the cost estimate on both anyways? Or is Zero College Highway might just disappear and evaporate and we won't have a chance?
We don't know. Hopefully we'll know more after your initial negotiations, but until something is firm, we don't know.
I think that's a question the public is going to have, period. No matter what direction we take. I think the public is going to want to know what would the two cost alternatives. I think that I assume that the public is going to, want to have that as a major factor as to what site that we chose.
But we do have to know a little bit more from the Labries before we even,
I 100% agree. 100% agree.
before
Yes.
we can.
But in terms of reaching out to HKT though, I think we would want to, what I'm trying to do is figure out how we would put something in writing, just saying, look, given, this is a situation, we're entering in negotiations with the landowners at Zero College. Hopefully within the next 6 weeks, we'll have some, at least a solid proposal on that, but that's still got to go to a special town meeting, which might be possibly in February. With that time frame in mind, what does that do to the timing of your contract with us? We would propose we would need a time extension. Would you be willing to do that? Question one. And then question two is we think in order to be able to present any case to the town for either site, we would need to know some rough cost estimates, at least of the land, or to compare the acquisition of Zero College Highway with the development costs of the current site, right? That we would want them to at least do a second cost estimate for Zero. But I think Zero, well, for one, there's one built into the contract that they would do a cost estimate on our chosen site. So we would just say that we want you to actually do cost estimates on both sites, and we realize that's another task, so what would that cost you? And would they be willing to do that? The test pit thing would be a third question, maybe, I don't know. If you think it's worth having them do that.
I think it would be worth going back to the contract and making sure that they're only doing one cost estimate.
Right,
Yeah.
I thought they were doing it.
It only makes sense
I
in
think
a
that's why we
municipal
had
project
Originally,
like
they were
this.
gonna do more than one. But I don't know if when we
Yeah.
negotiated for less of a price, that maybe they might have taken that second one down.
Well, that was you and Chris, right, Mark?
So,
So
or if we got into that level of detail, frankly.
No.
I don't know that I have a copy of the contract.
I'm trying to find an email right now.
So the way I think I'm understanding Zero College Highway now from what you're saying, Mark, so until maybe January, when the developer landowner comes back to planning board to present possibly the definitive plan for the subdivision access road, right? That's going to be a standalone thing. It's not tied to the subdivision itself, it's just the road, right?
It's not the entire residential
Right.
development area, it's
So-
just the road.
So if that were approved, which I'm hearing can be not terribly onerous if they have all their technical paperwork together.
More technical submission.
If that subdivision road were approved, say in January, does that mean we don't need to purchase that front parcel? Because we would have the access like had been originally envisioned.
Assuming that the Labries agreed that that parcel that they previously offered is still a legitimate offer. You haven't gotten a firm legal definition that that's going to be donated to the town? Or is that just a verbal?
Just for,
No.
we have nothing, no, that's what we're gonna try and meet with them on and get them to
Right.
put something in writing.
So if January comes around and subdivision approved, and Labrie say, yes, when originally amended, alluded to the fact that we would donate that parcel to the town for the public safety complex, that would lock us into alternate, whatever which one this is, yeah, alternate, option one.
Without having that frontage on Route 10. So not buying, so we could be back to the point where it's just a donation using that access road, and we don't have the front parcel, we don't buy the front parcel at all, it stays as a commercial parcel. That would still be a legal thing to do, I mean, a legal lot for us, as long as that, that we're there. So it's sort of this chicken and the egg situation, because I mean, are they going to, I mean, does it normally happen, I guess this is the question, does it normally happen this way, where you would get the access road all approved first, and then go step two, okay, here's your subdivision. Suppose, I can't imagine why, but suppose the access road didn't get approved, then that whole subdivision, what happens to it? Right? It can't exist without that.
Neither can us.
The subdivision road really only serves one function, and that's to provide frontage. And then you subdivide the parcels off of that. So the subdivision gets confusing because that's talking about subdividing parcels, but that's subdivision road primarily just provides legal frontage.
Right. But
So
if there's a delay, I'm sorry, if there's a delay for some reason, suppose they come in January and yet planning board pushes back or something, DEP, whomever, somebody pushes back and says, you know, you gotta do X, Y, and Z more, even getting that subdivision road parcel, subdivision road approval could extend beyond January.
Oh, and it very likely it could, yes.
Yeah, so then that again could throw us off unless we had the agreement to potentially buy that frontage.
That's right, if we buy the frontage, then
We're on our
if
own.
they agree
Right.
to donate the land, if that whole two parcels can be secured, then we can move forward
Without-
independently
Right, without
of the
worrying about what
subdivision.
happens for the rest of the rest up there. Yeah.
But until the final approval for that subdivision road, that parcel is landlocked.
Yeah.
I mean, the subdivision road is not the way it's been submitted as a preliminary plan. There is nothing unique and bizarre about the subdivision road
Right.
itself. The road development, there's a lot of questions about that, but that hasn't been formally submitted to the planning board yet. But again, focusing just on the road, it's not a unique, bizarre animal.
But then they'll go ahead and have that approved. What if they have that approved and then they don't get the rest of their plans approved for full scope development, and can they decide to bag the whole thing so that the subdivision approval, the road never goes in?
Well, the approval of subdivision, the approval of the definitive subdivision roadway design doesn't require the applicant to build the road.
Right.
I assume the applicant would only build a road if it was economically feasible for them. They have the frontage, commercial lots, and then if the whole, quote, residential development doesn't get approved as they conceive, they could cut off some, frontage lots along that subdivision road, and, who knows what alternatives there would be, but to incentive to encourage them to build the rest of the project up.
Right, but until everything's approved for them, nothing is certain for us, unless we can get that frontage parcel and work independently of what goes on
Right.
in the rest of
But
the
it sounds like the only
subdivision.
safe thing for us, right, for the committee, is to be able to get that donation and negotiate some price for that front commercial parcel.
That's how I see
And
it.
then assuming then that would be bought by the voters at town meeting.
Right, exactly.
There's that too. I mean, we'd have to determine whether that's going to be a borrowing
Yeah.
or what it's going to be for that cost to buy that front parcel, right? And so that's where our public campaign comes in and educating the voters.
Yeah, yeah. So we're
Yeah.
approaching the 6 o'clock hour, right?
Yeah.
So we probably should make a motion on how we're going to approach this.
Good idea.
I'm going to make a suggestion on this in motion, but I think the first suggestion is, contact HKT and sort of suck them into this conversation that we're having, and what is their opinion as to how they see it's best proceeding with adjustment to their contract.
Do we want to have that a committee meeting, or do we want to have that just a couple representatives, so it's not committee?
I would be comfortable just doing with a couple of committee members.
I think that would be better.
Yes, I do too.
Yeah.
So let's have that as a motion. Mark, the motion to contact HKT to discuss,
Extending the contract and cost estimates from 210 and Zero College Highway. Is that what we want to ask them?
And possibly test pits. Or the
that
cost
would be included
the test
in
pit
the
is
risk
part of the
listing cost estimate. They would have to do that to be able to come up with a cost estimate,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So a time extension as well as rough cost estimates of each site, right?
Yeah,
Though
cost.
there is that possibility that the two cost estimates are included in the current contract.
That is true, we have to check on
That
that.
would be
Verify that as well.
verified.
And you realize, I'm going to interrupt your mission, but we have 4 projects going right now.
Yes.
We can't tell HKT, give us 4 cost estimates.
No, I think we could, perhaps, not at this meeting though, because we're running close to the end, but am I correct that we could vote on which of the 2 plans we preferred here at 210? We could at least make that determination in this committee so that we would narrow it down to a single site plan on
Did we
210.
do that last week?
Not formally.
Okay. I thought we said we liked both.
I know, but we didn't vote on that. It's not a formal thing that we made. We did voice our preference for option 2.
I think it was number 2, right?
Yeah.
It was number 2 for both,
Yeah,
right?
2
Yeah.
on 210.
But that also included the extra parcel. That's why I believe it was number 2.
yeah, but we don't know whether that is an option.
No, I meant on 210.
Right, no, that's correct,
Yeah.
but the chief was
So we could tell
asking.
them that we would be looking at option 2 on this current property.
Yeah.
For a cost
Right.
estimate, for test pits and a cost estimate.
Right.
Correct.
And we'll have to get back to them on the other one? Or what?
And, in my opinion, of well, I don't know, option 2 on 210 at Zero College Highway is going to be higher because they have more parking area. Looks like, I don't know why they have such a much larger parking area than they have.
Oh, one question I was going to ask about that is if we do, the site preparation is going to be more costly if we do buy the parcel because we'll have to put the driveway in, correct? And apply and pay for a curb cut? Is that true or not true?
Yeah, but I think the drive is not an astronomical cost.
Okay.
In
We also-
comparison to the overall.
We also spoke about bringing it up closer to the highway too. than-
Right.
Yeah, I wouldn't modify this plan if I had my 2 cents.
So if you wanted a motion, I just make a motion that we would ask HKT to focus on test pits and rough cost estimate to develop option 2 of 204 College Highway?
Yes.
All right. I'll make that motion.
Second?
Somebody?
I'll second.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, you second? Okay.
Well,
Oh,
I did, but
I thought
I'm
that was
happy to have you. Oh, no, I'm not running this meeting.
all right, all in
remember?
favor, that's a second.
Aye.
Yeah, second, all in favor, okay.
But it was Christina that seconded.
Oh, okay.
No.
Wow. this is
Okay,
complicated.
so who's gonna make those phone calls?
Oh, so should it be part of the motion to say who will be representatives? And I'm going to make a suggestion. I'm going to suggest Chris and Mark were the first ones to negotiate. I suggest the chief, Mark, and Chris.
Should Ed be involved with that? This is
Oh, sure.
modification of a
Oh,
town
sure.
contract.
I didn't, yes,
Yeah.
of course. I just meant of the committee members, I'm sorry. But I would like to
Yeah,
put forth the original negotiators, which,
You'll have to share because they're taking forever to print. There are the
the contracts, oh, good, thank you.
so Ed as a given, and then Chris, Mark as the two original negotiators, and the chief.
Sounds good.
Should that be part of the original, this motion that
Well, we
you just...
already voted on it.
Okay, so I'll make another motion that the representatives from this committee that will approach or work with HKT on the modifications are Ed, Chris Fowles, Mark Darnold, and Chief Illingsworth.
Somebody second.
Second?
Second.
John? Okay.
Okay, yeah, so Rich...
Rich,
I'm
Rich,
sorry,
yep, Rich second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody not in favor? Okay. So,
So that was,
The contract, right?
okay. So there were more, are there more, you said you're printing more copies, Ed?
I ceased it because it's
Okay,
taking so long.
it's taking too long, so you can have that, chief. Well, so somebody will have to find out how it reads. I don't have a copy yet.
It's addressed on
No,
page
that's-
6,
that's-
task 4. Total project cost estimate and schedule.
Can you read that to us, please, John?
TCI will provide a detailed cost estimate in elementally uniform based on the final preferred conceptual design scheme, including conceptual site and floor plans, conceptual elevations, and engineering narrative developed under Task 3. Note, in the original fee proposal, the cost estimate would have been built upon an earlier estimate developed under Task 3. With the cost estimates removed from the Task 3 scope, additional time will be required to develop a cost estimate from scratch under Task 4. As a result, the fee for Task 4 has increased from that quoted in HKT's original fee.
So apparently it was removed. We had it in there. And it was removed in there in this revised scope.
I don't see why it said 1 or 2 estimates.
so it's based on the final preferred conceptual design scheme, including conceptual site and floor plans.
Yeah, so
So
we're,
this is stalling us even more, right? Because we'll have to either adjust this, ask for an amendment, and which will increase the pay or the cost, because basically we have to come up with a site location and the building design, really. That's it,
Before we get the cost estimate.
before we get a cost estimate. Am I reading this, am I interpreting that properly?
That's what it sounds like.
That's my interpretation, that it's based on a fairly developed.
Yeah, yeah.
Which,
So, Mark Darnold, is it usual for there to be rough cost estimates when there are two sites and then a further, more detailed cost estimate, or is that?
It's what the client wants, you know,
So I get feeling more and more unresolved after each meeting about this. Because now this is, so if we have two sites, 4 potential designs, how do we come up with, I guess, well, we can't for at least Zero College Highway, we can't right now, it's impossible. And we still can't for 210 College Highway or 204 College Highway because we have to, unless we choose it, we have to choose it. And then we're not being, I feel like we have to wait until, so reaching out to HKT, right, that motion, and the time extension, and then asking for rough cost estimates on each site is not part of our contract, we've determined, is that correct?
I'm sorry, it was.
Right.
So the motion that we had, and we agreed to, was to contact HKT, ask for a time extension, and then a rough cost estimates of each site.
Yes.
So pursuant to our contract that we have now, that motion does not apply. Am I right? Because they're only going to give one cost estimate, and that's when we come up with the final site and design.
And we can't really do anything till he meets with them Wednesday or Thursday.
Beyond that, yeah.
Whether they're even gonna want us to do anything with that front lot for the town.
Or.
But there is one cost estimate provided for in the contract, right? Right.
That's when it's highly developed. I think that's the point you're making, is it not, that the cost estimate will come once the actual building is much farther along, the site has been selected.
Well, you know, I'm reading on task 4, originally it said, note in the original fee proposal, this cost estimate would have been built upon earlier estimate developed under task 3.
So additional time will be required.
Apparently, early under task 3, there were some conceptual cost estimates, and that, they moved in the rest.
Well, in task 3, they've got HKT and whoever else, their other contractor meeting wants to discuss options in green design and all that stuff. And then the next to last bullet on 3, or somewhere there, HKT will help on communication tools, For purposes of developing the fee proposal, we assume 60 man-hours for developing site and floor plan renderings, a 3D model of the conceptual design. So that's all part of the communication for town meeting.
But nothing specific to cost estimates. The only thing I've seen here relative to cost estimates is in 4.
Correct. But they mentioned that there were earlier cost estimates under task 3 which have been removed.
Go back and look at their original proposal and see what their proposal was
I think
originally.
it's under our original Q.
Well, let's,
But anyway, this is the contract that we have
Right.
and signed, so if we need to modify, no matter what we had under earlier, we need to ask them to do what we need to do now. So the proposal is to contact HKT, the motion is to...
The motion was to contact HKT and request a time extension, and then also rough cost estimates for each site.
For site preparation.
For site preparation.
For site development costs.
Site development.
Site development. Now, could they just, based on what they reported last week, or 2 weeks ago, do they have to come up with actual figures, I'm wondering? You know, they were saying, they listed reasons why this one would be more expensive. We're in complicated territory here. Are we asking for too much for them to do more? They've given us a certain amount.
We need that for the public opinion.
Yeah.
We need to see how much that's cost so we can say, this is why we chose this site.
I think it would be to have them provide a preliminary site development cost for option 2
Yeah, yeah.
for 210. And then to have them prepare a preliminary site development cost for, let's say, option 2 for Zero College Highway.
Which is not part of the contract, so they'll have to essentially give us a...
Right, there's going to be additional fee.
Additional
from
fee,
HKT.
all right.
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
so that's,
Okay.
yeah.
I think that still falls within the realm of our motion. We'll just have to ask what the fee is, what the
Yeah.
additional fees are. Okay.
And then as far as the motion is, are we going to also request test pits on one or both sites at this time? Or,
As long as we have permission for Zero, then we have to ask for permission. Test pits
For delivery,
yeah, on the other property, I don't think
it's 0.
I mean, I guess that would be a question, would we be able to negotiate with Labreeze on getting test pits done on a property that we may or may not end up using? Is that something we would bring up at this point in time? I would. Yeah.
I don't think
This
that-
gets into the argument of chicken or egg.
It's going to benefit them to have that information.
He said he did test pits with his backhoe already, but we need to do our own.
Yeah.
But, it's just basically saying what he said. But I don't think he'd have a problem. We still need permission.
Yeah. And so would that be, Ed, would that be the contracting par or somebody from HKT's end that would do the test pits, or?
I would probably think so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So I guess it'll be next to figure out a time where we can Zoom with HKT at some point. Once we get time.
Well, I think that was going to be in our conversation with the representatives calling them. So do we want to consider, I know Monday, I believe, is a holiday, correct? Monday's
No,
not a holiday?
No, it's the 11th.
falls on a Saturday, so Saturday's a holiday.
Would it be okay. So are we saying, that do we want to schedule a meeting for Monday after we have some information based on our conversation with HKT and the Labreeze, so we can further deliberate this?
I think so. I think we need to pack them in. Is everybody free on this next Monday, 4:30?
We have to figure out a time where we can get us together with HKT. right?
Oh, that is true. But if, I know they're anxious to hear from us, so assuming that you four can meet with them before Monday, I think it's, but even to get together to know what has gone on with the Labreeze would be beneficial. Because we could certainly work on other aspects of our agenda.
As far as the next meeting?
Yeah. Seems as though we should, if people are available, meet next Monday. Okay.
All right, so,
I won't be available on this one.
would people be available for Tuesday?
Right now, Tuesday works unless we have a town select meeting.
We do have a special select board meeting
On the 14th,
on the 14th.
not the 16th, the 14th.
14th, I think, well, now I'm gonna have to go back and look. I thought it was the 14th, maybe it is the 16th.
If we could do it earlier than this time frame, on Monday, I could probably do it. Gosh. Yeah, I've got something at 5 o'clock on Monday.
I have a 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock.
You have a 3 o'clock already?
1 o'clock and 3 o'clock.
Yeah, and I have some, oh, no, Monday I don't.
Yeah, I can make it 4:30, but I can be here for 4:30.
How about Wednesday of that week? It would be best to have as many people as we can.
Wednesday's busy with the Greenway meeting at the school.
Okay.
Wednesday, I have a 7 o'clock planning board with us.
I mean, I could, you know, if you have it Monday night, I just would be late. I just, you know.
How about 4 o'clock on Monday? Would that work for everyone? And then, Chris, that would give you an hour with us.
That works for me, but I don't know about everybody else.
I can make 4.
I'm okay with that.
I'm good with 4.
I'm okay with 4.
Okay.
Yeah, busy week.
So, just for interest of time, anyone want to make a motion that we'll conclude our meeting and address the other items on the agenda for the next meeting?
The only thing we need to do, which is not on the agenda, but it's a business that shouldn't wait, is to
that's right.
approve the HKT October invoice of... Did you have an opportunity to print that?
I did print it out, yes.
Thank you very much.
How much is this?
$4,236.73.
Yes. Yep, 4,236.73. This is it, in case anyone wants to see it.
Yeah.
I didn't make that.
And then percent of cost, I have to issue that.
So we need a motion to approve the invoice, or did we?
I make that motion
Okay.
to approve the HKT
Second.
invoice.
Second, no, I'm John.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
And
Everybody?
then Ed made the suggestion, so I'll request a motion to allow the chief and I to submit the warrant and get those monthly bills paid, and then,
It's not on the agenda, which I asked to have done, so I would not take it up until it's on the agenda.
I
Please.
thought it could go, I'm sorry, I'll bring it up next Monday. I thought it was...
No, you want to list that specifically out on the agenda.
All right, I shall do it.
Thank you.
Okay,
I move to close the meeting.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? No? Okay, meeting is concluded at 6:10 PM.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.